Have you ever wondered why the entire world seems unable to stand against Israel? How can a small country whose people claim a history of being persecuted exert such massive control over the global economy and dictate terms to major powers? The simplistic media narrative suggests this is just a local land dispute, but the truth is far deeper. To find the real answer, we have to look away from these simple maps and follow the money and the power right back to Europe. This is the story of how a secret web of finance and colonial debt laid the foundation for today's genocide. It's a story about why the world cannot intervene, not just why it won't. In a small Jewish neighborhood in Frankfurt, Germany in 1744, one of the most important leaders of the modern Zionist entity was born. Meyer Amschel Rothschild. This man, who many argue that without him Israel couldn't have been established, began his career as a dealer in rare coins. He quickly earned a massive reputation for his persuasive ability and smart lending practices. Meyer was smart. He approached the royal family and proposed founding a bank with himself as his director. His influence rapidly grew, eventually earning him the title of Duke. But his real project was not for himself alone. He decided to educate his sons in the principles of banking and finance. Meyer sent each of his sons to a different country to maximize the family's influence. Nathan traveled to Britain to found N.M. Rothschild Bank. Solomon went to Austria, James to France, and Karl to the Vatican, while the fifth son remained in Frankfurt. But before sending his children to other countries, Meyer established some ironclad rules. They must marry only Jewish women, and wealth would be inherited exclusively by male heirs to ensure the money stayed within the family. And the most crucial rule was, if anyone knew any political or economic information, he must immediately report it to the other brothers, because every minute can make a difference in wealth creation. During the Napoleonic Wars, 1803 to 1815, Nathan Rothschild displayed his genius by financing both sides. While he lent vast sums to the British government, up to 8.9 million euros, his brother James simultaneously financed France. The peak of their control arrived in 1815 at the Battle of Waterloo. When James learned of France's defeat, he immediately informed Nathan. Nathan immediately began making massive strategic trades on the London Stock Exchange. This calculated buying spree allowed him to corner the market. When the official news arrived hours later, the resulting surge in assets secured the family an immense fortune and left the British government completely indebted to the Rothschild family. Amidst this massive financial influence, the Zionist movement gained traction. The pivotal moment arrived after the Dreyfus Affair, 1894, where a Jewish French captain was falsely accused of espionage. This spurred Herzl to write his famous book, The Jewish State, convincing many Jews that Europe would never truly accept them. The goal of establishing a separate country for the Jews accelerated with the rise of anti-Jewish sentiment and European debt. The Rothschilds saw the ideal solution, planting a separate entity in the Mediterranean region. Ironically, early Zionism aligned with European anti-Semitic goals, not to protect Jews, but to move them out of Europe. For many European powers, supporting a Jewish homeland wasn't an act of solidarity, It was a convenient way to export the so-called Jewish question out of Europe. And as Europe descended into war and debt, one empire held both power and the motive to make the Zionist vision a reality. By the early 20th century, Britain's debt and reliance on the Rothschild network provided the ultimate mechanism for the Zionist project. The repayment wasn't cash, it was territorial control. The key moment came in 1917, Britain needing to repay political and financial debts and secure its imperial interests, issued the Balfour Declaration, a concise letter addressed directly to Lord Rothschild. This declaration, pledging support for a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine, was effectively the payment for Britain's financial obligations. Under the subsequent British mandate, this political promise became a devastating reality. The British government actively facilitated mass Jewish immigration and aggressive land acquisition, creating the essential demographic shift needed for a state, regardless of the consequences for the indigenous Palestinian population. But ask yourself, if someone comes to your home, drives you off your land, and actively works to seize your birthright, how can you not fight back? How could anyone not resist when everything they know is systematically taken? The mandates, policies, and the massive influx of over 164,000 Jewish immigrants between 1933 and 1936 pushed the indigenous population past this breaking point. It was in this environment that Sheikh Izzeddin al-Qassam emerged, organizing and training farmers and workers in his Black Hand against both the British and the Zionists. Britain could not tolerate the threat posed by Palestinians actively defending their land. Consequently, they hunted down al-Qassam and killed him in 1935 after a shootout with British police. The execution of al-Qassam led to the Great Arab Revolt in April 1936. It was organized defiance marked by a 6-month general strike that paralyzed the economy and fierce armed resistance led by figures like Abdul Qadir al-Husseini. The British response was a calculated wall strategy. They met the revolt with extreme repression, including collective punishment such as the demolition of vast areas of Old Jaffa and mass arrests. Simultaneously, they pushed the partition idea through the Peel Commission 1937, a proposal that only intensified the rebellion. The second, more intense phase, starting July 1937, saw the rebels temporarily seize control of significant mountainous regions in parts of Jerusalem's Old City. The British retaliated by deploying tanks, aircraft, and heavy artillery, and declaring all Palestinian political parties illegal. Faced with this overwhelming British military assault, the Zionist militias benefited enormously. The British government formally armed, uniformed, and trained Jewish auxiliary police forces, Haganah, and formed joint special night squads to carry out operations. While crushing the organized Palestinian resistance, Britain was actively building the military superiority of the future Israeli state. By the late 1939, the revolt was successfully dismantled. The result, approximately 5,000 Palestinians were killed, 15,000 wounded, and the entire national political leadership was exiled or assassinated. The systematic destruction of organized resistance created the essential defenseless conditions for the final act, the Nakba. The core conflict is the indigenous Palestinian population fighting for survival against a powerful political project backed by global finance. The reason for the small nation's global influence is that its creation was an act of high finance and imperial politics that systematically eliminated the local resistance years in advance. Because Palestinian command was destroyed during the 1936 revolt, the subsequent ethnic cleansing, the Nakba, in 1948, was not an accident. It was the tragic, inevitable culmination of the plan against a defenseless people. In the end, standing for truth isn't about choosing sides. It's about seeing what was hidden, the voices erased, the stories rewritten. This isn't just history, it's the present. Share the story. Stand with truth. Stand with Palestine.